All right, everybody, welcome back to the Goodrow Hockey Podcast. We're here. We're honestly kind of throwing me and Gally off a little bit. We're here on a Wednesday night recording. I haven't done that in a while, but in the spirit of playoffs and all the craziness that's been going on, we wanted to keep the content fresh for you guys. So we wanted to wait after Tuesday. Hopefully, this would be a more celebration episode than anything, but it's not, and we're here. But we'll get into that, and then we got some trade news today, which is also pretty cool. And then we're going to get on with our draft picks from pick number 11 to 20, because we're going to be at the draft, if you didn't know, which is next week. I think we're 9 days away. If I saw NHL talk about it, which I think Gally and I are super hyped for. We'll be getting some content. So guess what? Be sure to follow that Instagram. Plug it again, at Goodrow Hockey Podcast. Go follow us there. Also, another plug here. We've got a Patreon. And now what that Patreon does, it is $1.99 a month. And you pledge to us that almost like a donation. You're helping us make everything happen. We pay for stuff in the background that you guys may not see, but it helps us out, goes us a long way. So guess what? We're going to give back to you guys for helping us out. If you join our Discord, if you join our Patreon by July 31st, we're giving away one lucky winner a free jersey. Yes, a free jersey. You heard that right. So link is down below. Go copy and paste that into your browser. Go join. If you want to win a free jersey, you'll get entered into a Discord with us where you can chat with us about whatever sport that you like, whatever sport you don't like. Z Cove, the officials got the call, extend the series. Yeah,
facts.
Honestly, that's what they want. That's what they wanted. They got it. But
it probably will go to 7.
Yeah, I know, for real. But before we get into the Stanley Cup, Gally, how was your weekend?
Weekend was pretty good. I know we went hard in the paint the weekend before, so didn't go downtown. I strayed away from downtown. I spent way too much that weekend before, but yeah, Friday night didn't do too much, just chilled with girlfriend, and then Saturday went to a barbecue, had a great time, tossed some bags, played some pong. Nice. Ended up at Jim's Alibi, had to do some karaoke, sung Higher by Creed.
You had to?
I didn't have to, but I
wanted to.
But it was a choice, but kind of had to for myself, maybe.
Yeah. Totally.
It's kick ass. There's a video of it out there. But yeah, Jim's Alibi was a good time. And then honestly, underrated bar in Boise. I will give that to them. Mm-hmm. I always drive by it. I've drove by it a million times. And I've been in there once or twice, but was probably pretty drunk in college at some point. But yeah, just went in there on Saturday night with the boys, and we let loose, man. It's a good time. And they have a nice outdoor area too. So I'll give that to them. Shout out Jim's Alibi for a good time, good karaoke time. Mm-hmm. Sunday, I don't even remember what I did. I didn't do too much. But how was your weekend?
It was good. Friday went to a Boise Hawks game, which was fun. Yeah, those times are always fun. If you guys didn't see it, Cody went kind of viral on Instagram with his I can throw 70. Didn't throw 70, but the thing's off. So we're going to be testing it soon for real this time. But yeah, that was fun on Friday. And then Saturday, my dad's birthday. So I went up, and they have a car show in his, what's it called? In his little neighborhood, I guess you could say, where they live. So I got to see a car show. And then Saturday was Father's Day. So I went to Top Golf. And then also, after that? Oh, then we just had dinner with the family. So pretty chill weekend, nothing crazy. But watched a lot of hockey these past couple days, and yeah.
Speaking of Boise Hawks, we're gonna sometime in the future, probably early July, we're gonna be doing a 999. For those who don't know that, it's 9 beers, 9 hot dogs, and 9 innings, and we're gonna live stream it and have a good time. Yep. So I'm excited for that. That's down the road though.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. After all the craziness of the off season and everything is kind of settled, all the dust is settled, we're going to get together and do a 999 challenge, which I'm extremely scared for. I don't know if anyone has done it, whoever's watching, but I don't know what to expect. I'm honestly really scared. So we'll see. But do you have anything else to add before we get into this cup final?
No, I'm excited for that challenge, but that's after the draft. That's after the Stanley Cup's been raised by who knows who. But can get into that. Games 4 and 5 happen. Panthers didn't look as good, but if you want to get into that.
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, the last time we talked was after games 1 and 2. Game 3, Florida looked great, but, that's way in the past now. And games 4 and 5, I don't know what's happened. I really don't I don't know if Zuch is still watching, and I think he's an optimistic fan. I'm kind of a pessimist, and I get scared. I see stuff like this happen. I see Connor McDavid do what he does, and I get scared because I do. I have $80 potentially on this series, and I was so confident after game 3. I was like, nice, fucking hit a future bet on the Stanley Cup winner, and now I'm in paranoia because I don't know. I really don't. I just thought this game 5, we watched game 5 at End Zone, and I think by the time we got there, Panthers had they woke up a bit. But before that, I thought they looked like they just didn't want to win. I don't know. What did you think?
Yeah, I don't know. Game 4 at least, I think it's obviously down 0-3 to the Panthers at Oilers were. So I think they just put it all on the ice for a better team. I don't think the Panthers really showed up too much. I know a lot of people were like, oh, they want to win it in Florida. Well, game 5 came around and they looked flat, at least at the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
I think they turned it up a little bit more, especially in the second period. It was pretty sweet to see them almost tie it up going into the third. But then, third was just tough, man. I can't believe Edmonton shut them down that hard, and then Tkachuk's freaking empty net save for nothing. I feel like they were going to score. I was optimistic about it. I thought game 5 was a lot better for the Panthers. But yeah, the Edmonton Oilers look like a different team right now. I know I was seeing a lot of statistics and posts from ESPN and all over the place about, when the Oilers lose 3 games in a row, they do really good after. So fingers crossed that doesn't happen, especially from myself as a Flames fan. I'm going to be so sad if the Oilers win the Stanley Cup. But
go ahead.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's going to be a really good game 6. I don't think I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, the Oilers are at home. But, I mean, we saw game 3 that the Panthers can definitely win in Edmonton. So I think game 6 is going to be really, really good. But if not, if they do end up losing, I still think game 7's anyone's. But I don't know if my heart can take that for my nerves, to be honest.
That too. I get, game 4, I understood. It's incredibly hard to sweep a team in the finals. I get that. It's incredibly tough to sweep a team in the playoffs, let alone the finals. So I get it, right? It's game 4. They're probably exhausted. They want to win that cup, and they got caught flat-footed. But game 5 to come out like they did, and I don't know that Edmonton did not look dominant this entire series at all. I think game 1 they had a couple games here and there. I think it's been a good series so far, but I don't know that you can say that the Oilers have been great, because at least before these past 2 games, don't take this out of context. I might clip this, but it might get taken out of context. But adding context, before these past 2 games, they have looked dominant in game 4 and game 5. They looked like they were the better team. But Florida, I don't know what happened. I don't know if it's just the excitement, because they're like, oh my God, we were 1 win away. We're so close. And it's like, oh, if they win this game, it doesn't matter. But I don't know, man. I don't think you give this Oilers team a chance, and they already kind of have given them a chance to come back and make history, because I don't know that 1942 is the last time this happened, when a team. Yeah. And that was I love hockey, but that was a long time ago, and I'm not going to count that as a thing in the modern era. That's never happened. Yeah. So,
and not only that, I feel like game 4 was tough, especially for Bobrovsky. I mean, getting scored 8 goals, right? I think it was 8 goals.
Yeah.
Damn, man. That's a tough blow. He's been having a great playoff so far.
Yeah.
Great series so far. So I feel like that was tough. And I mean, last night let in 4 goals plus the empty net, so 5 goals. So he's going to need a rebound, or else the Panthers are kind of in some deep water right now.
Yeah.
And like you said, they gave him a chance, and I hope the Oilers don't capitalize on it. I am pretty worried, though, because McDavid showed that he is on another level than maybe any other player has ever played in this league. But yeah, man, I feel like Game 6 is going to be tight. I'd smash the under on that, because it's going to be it's going to be a dogfight for sure. But we'll see. I'm really unsure how this series is going to go, because Edmonton does have the momentum right now, but the Panthers just need one game. They just need one game. So 2 more games to go. Game 7 is going to be freaking June 24th, which is 4 days before the draft.
Literally, we leave 3 days after the cup is raised. If it goes to Game 7, just crazy.
We're gonna have to be doing some scrambling if that's the case. But also, I know we brought this up in the past, especially about this series. Dude, it's like such a long series, and it's probably because of the travel. But I mean, for a game to be played on Tuesday night and then give them all the way to Friday night, I mean, damn, it's probably nice for the players. They're probably getting some good rest, but also it's got to be some weird nerves on top of like the fans, all these fan bases and hockey fans are just kind of on edge waiting for this result to happen, seeing what's going to happen in Game 6. And also, I mean, from last night until Game 6, there's going to be a ridiculous amount of dick riding for the Oilers and McDavid. I mean, I'm already getting annoyed by it this playoffs. But to be fair, McDavid's really good. So, but as a Flames fan, it's annoying always.
It is. And it's like, I want to take my Panthers hat off for a second and like look at this on the outside and not hate on the Oilers. And in all honesty, like, we're witnessing greatness before our eyes, and everyone always hates on greatness. And I get it. And guess what? I'm hating on McDavid because he's pissing me off. I want this series to be over. I want Florida to have that cup over their head already. And I want my $80. I want my wallet to be $80, a little bit more when we go to Vegas. So I would love for this series to be over on Friday, but I just don't know. Like, in Edmonton and giving this team the juice and the energy to be coming back, Stuart Skinner somehow is just now a great goalie. And you know, I mean, he let in 2 goals or 3 goals last night. And, you know, a lot of those goals from the Panthers were good shots, good goals. I wouldn't really fault him. Bobrovsky looked like Swiss cheese in Game 4. So I don't know, but let's talk about Connor McDavid for a second, because this guy is on another level. He passed Gretzky for all-time playoff assists ever. Gretzky had 31, I believe. McDavid now has 34, 35. Don't know exactly. Sorry. But regardless, he passed Gretzky, which was a record that I don't think anyone thought was ever going to happen. Steve, what's up, man? I don't think that was a record that we saw was ever going to be broken. And now this man is 5 points away from tying Wayne Gretzky's record of all time, most points in a playoff, which is 47. Dave's got 42 points.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Points. I think he's got the most for any active player too.
Yes, he does. He passed Malkin.
Even freaking Crosby and Malkin.
Yep, he passed Malkin.
That's so nuts.
Game 5, I think, or Game 4. Sorry.
That is ridiculous, and that's crazy that he's 5 points away from just tying Wayne Gretzky's postseason points record. I mean,
this goes to 7. And
he's probably gonna do it if it goes to 7. I would be kind of shocked if he does at least tie it in Game 6. That would have to be a pretty crazy game, which isn't out of the cards. But yeah, man, I feel like McDavid. I feel like he's a lock for the Conn Smythe, no matter who wins, which is kind of crazy because I mean, there's been a lot of good players on both of these teams. Especially, I mean, I feel like if you're going to give it to anyone except for McDavid and say the Panthers win, it's going to go to Bobrovsky. You know, Bobrovsky is such a good, but I mean, I think he's a lock for the Conn Smythe. I think this is one of the best playoff performances we've ever seen. Yeah. But he's going to have to win it. I think he's going to have to win it to really show his dominance and for it to go down as the best one. Because if it doesn't, I mean, there's a lot of other great performances, at least by goalies points wise. I don't know, probably not. But yeah, man, I mean, McDavid is looking like McJesus out there. Back-to-back 4-point games is crazy. Like, what?
I'm also curious, like, I mean, this may get some backlash, but if he was on a more complete team, like, I know Edmonton's playing great right now. They've, turned it around since December. But, like, on paper, if he was on a team that had just a little bit more depth, not a whole lot. They have some good players and, Draisaitl, even though he's been kind of quiet. Nuge, Evan Bouchard. Like, they have a solid team. If he was on, like, a star-studded roster, I'm curious what that team would do. I don't think the Oilers are there yet. I think they could be. But we've clearly seen that this is his Stanley Cup. I know it's a team sport, but if they win, this is McDavid's Stanley Cup. And this isn't to badmouth the rest of the Oilers. It's not like they're ass or anything. Like, they've played great. They've played what they needed to do to enhance him. But let's be honest, this is his cup if they win.
Dude, he's been involved in 52.5% of all the Oilers' goals in the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
I mean, has had a point. And we haven't, I mean, who knows what the stats are like when he's on the ice. It's probably like 60 or 70% of the goals. This guy he's a legend. I mean, as much as I dislike the Oilers and I dislike McDavid being on the Oilers, got to give respect where it's, due. And yeah, man, I mean, McDavid he's on another level. I think he's cemented himself as, the next one. Like, he is the best player in the league right now. I mean, you could argue he's better than, Gretzky and play wise, but I mean, that's a whole nother conversation we could talk about. But I mean, man, this guy is on another level. His speed, his stick handling, his hockey IQ, his shot. I mean, he's incredible. So, yeah, man, I know
if Corey Perry's scoring, that this guy's next level.
Hey, I mean, Corey Perry's not bad, but he is old.
No, I know. 39-year-old Corey Perry is scoring because of even that play that I'm talking about specifically. Like, no hate to Corey Perry, but all four Panthers were on McDavid, locked eyes on him, and we're like, we're gonna shut him down. He gets through every single one of them, and Perry's backdoor, and credit to him for being able to keep up with McDavid, but Perry's then right there, backdoor, ready for the pass from McDavid, and props to both of them. But just an insane play, and it's one of those things where you just have to put your hat down as a dude who has his money on the Panthers. Like, I feel like this is how I feel when I was watching the Warriors play LeBron James and he came back on that 3-1. It's just like, it's so frustrating. You're like, all you need is one, guys, and this other dude who's from another planet is just carrying his team with him, and I want to make sure that people know that it's not that the Oilers are bad and he's the only good player. Like, they're a solid team, but this guy is carrying them, and then some.
Dude, I feel like if the Panthers end up winning this series, that's going to be, I mean, honestly, regarded as an upset, in my opinion. I mean, just how strong the Oilers have been in the playoffs. I think they kind of lack the goaltending, but offensive power and offensive wise, this team is insane. I don't think I have ever seen a team that I've been alive for in the playoffs that scores this much, can swing a game completely around just by their offense. So, I mean, I feel like in the NHL playoffs, it's a lot about defense. It's a lot about goaltending. There's really low scoring games compared to the regular season, but this team just doesn't give a fuck about that. I mean, they are all gas, no breaks. So, I mean, it's going to be really impressive if Florida is able to cap this off, just because, I mean, they have the best player in the world doing the best player in the world things right now for them right now. So, yeah, man, it's going to be crazy. I'm excited for Game 6. It sucks we have to wait so long, but
that's the thing for me. Like, last point is just the anticipation, and maybe it's getting to the players too. I'm sure it is, and the travel. The travel, I know for a fact, is getting to these players. They're exhausted. we don't even know the injury reports yet. Like, who knows what the Panthers are dealing with, what the Oilers are doing. Connor McDavid could have a broken hand for all we know, and he's doing what he's doing. We don't even know. But yes, Steve, a reverse sweep would definitely blow my mind as well if this does happen, because just crazy. But to wait until Friday for this game, like, oh my God, it's painful. But I'm excited. Friday will be a fun night to watch the game. It's a weekend, and when the Panthers win in 6, it'll be fun for them. Not in Edmonton, though. Honestly, if the Panthers want a game plan, here's what I suggest to them. Once you guys win in Game 6 on Friday, you get on a direct flight right away, take the PJ all the way to Vegas and go party there. Rub it in their face. Rub it in their face from last year. Go to Vegas. Edmonton, you're not going to really do much out on the town. Sorry, Edmonton, but you're not. Go to Vegas. Go rub it in all those guys' face that you lost to last year, and go have the time of your life, because you don't know how many cups you're going to win. So, but with that, we'll move on. Do you have any other?
I'm worried for that flight. Yeah, last thing I wanted to say is whoever wins the cup, I'm worried for the flight back, honestly, because I don't think either of these teams are going to celebrate in an opposing city. But if it does end up happening in Florida, I mean, obviously that's going to be a tough flight for the Oilers, but either way, I mean, going back to Edmonton or going back to Florida after winning, these players are going to be drinking. They're going to be on a plane for 7+ hours at least. So, I mean, I'm worried for, hopefully there's going to be some, but I mean, who's going to be the person that's like, hey, stop drinking? Like, we're on a flight. You might die. I don't think it's going to happen, but
no,
I am worried for that. I was thinking about that the other day. Like, holy shit, someone's going to have to step in for some management of these players when they're on their flight after I think that cup win, if it happens.
Yeah. I know, honestly, like I think Florida would go back. Like you said, I think both teams would go back to their respective city, but I mean, even then it's a 6-hour flight. Like, they get done. These games are done. If they're in Edmonton on Friday, game has been finished around like 9 p.m. our time in Mountain Time. So if they're up in Edmonton, it's 9 p.m. they're finished. They got to take a 6-hour flight back to Florida to celebrate if they win on Friday.
And Stanley Cup celebrations they're hard. I mean, they're the best in all of sports. I mean, players drink a lot, and there's partying like no other, like any other championship. So, it's gonna be crazy. I'm excited for this finish. It's tough. It's happening almost in July, but
for real.
Yeah, man. Let's definitely move on, though. I'm down to
we're
talk
excited
about these trades and this team right here, even though they aren't going to make the playoffs in the next who knows when.
Let's kick it off with that then. Go ahead. You got the floor. Markstrom gets traded to New Jersey Devils. What were your initial thoughts when you saw that pop up on your screen?
So when I saw that, it was this morning. I saw that Markstrom is going to New Jersey, and I was shocked in a way that it was happening right now. And today is a really weird day to have all these trades. Not going to lie. I mean, there's some pretty big trades that are happening today. So a little mini trade deadline on June 19th. But yeah, man, I mean, my initial thoughts were like, okay, we're going to get a good haul. Like, I just know that there was some rumors going around at this past trade deadline that Markstrom was going to get shipped for a first, and Alexander Holtz, who's freaking stud of a prospect. But when I saw that haul back, I mean, I'm glad we got a first round pick. That's really good. But getting Kevin Ball, I mean, I'm not the biggest on him necessarily. I feel like Markstrom's a very good player, but the more I let it digest today, I still think this is a pretty good haul for Calgary for a 34-year-old. I mean, Kevin Ball is a 6'6" left-handed defenseman. I mean, he's only 23 years old too. I think he's got a lot of room to grow, but if he can turn into like a top 4 defenseman, stay-at-home defenseman that's big and, hard to get shots past, I think this is going to be a win for Calgary. But there's a lot of to be determined. I mean, Jacob Markstrom could really be the key to success for New Jersey, because we talked about it all this season. Like they lack their goaltending. They have really good defense. They have really good offense. But then their goaltending is just not there. I mean, iffy on defense, I'll give them that. But it's going to be interesting. I will say with this, a lot of people are coming at Craig Conroy, the GM of the Flames, saying what is this haul and all that. But I will say Markstrom kind of holds the cards. He has a no trade clause, so for him to waive that for New Jersey, I think that's okay. And then also, I mean, the one thing about it though is I don't think he's gonna go to Ottawa. There was a lot of talk about him going to Ottawa. I didn't ever see that panning out, but I'm glad that we were able to get this much for him just because goalies don't get a lot in the market right now. But
yeah.
I don't know. What's your thoughts on this trade?
I mean, I think as tough as it is, like you said, as a Flames fan, to see what you're getting back, I think realistically, like, you know, I think for the long term, I don't see Markstrom helping them in the next 2-3 years. So I think getting some return out of it while he's still valuable is worth every penny. And, you know, a first round pick is a first round pick. You know, you don't know what that guy's going to turn out to be. And also getting a prospect like Kevin Ball. I don't know how your guys' farm system is, like how deep you guys are in the defenseman category, but someone like that, I mean, and you wrote that down here, you said 6 first-round draft picks in the next 3 years is awesome.
Yeah. Like, and that's really good for awesome. for the rebuild for Calgary. So, I mean, all in all, I became a fan of this trade throughout the day. I thought we were going to get a bigger haul, but now that I step back and look at it, maybe if you do this a couple years ago or maybe last year, they're going to get a lot more from Markstrom. But for how old he is, and also he kind of had, I mean, he had a good year last year. I mean, it's hard to say because he was on the Flames, wasn't that good of a team. But I mean, this guy's a Vezina candidate or Vezina finalist, I want to say 2 years ago. So this is going to be a good addition for New Jersey. I think that for right now, they won this trade. And I think I could say that about the Toffoli trade with Sharon Govich last year too. But I think that next year is going to see, I mean, if the Devils don't do shit and their goaltending shit and Markstrom shit, this is a bad trade. I mean, they gave up a first, they gave up a good defensive prospect, but it could totally flop the other way. But I will say, like I said, I mean, Sharon Govich and Toffoli trade happened, and everyone said New Jersey won that. I feel like right now people are kind of weary of that, saying that New Jersey won this one because of that. So I'm kind of wary of it. I'd give it an A grade for New Jersey, and then I'd probably say a B- for Calgary. Just because I think they could have squeezed out a little bit more out of New Jersey. Maybe another prospect, maybe another draft pick. But yeah, man, Jacob Markstrom, he was a good goalie for the Flames for a while, and it's sad he's leaving. I know he was a great goalie. I mean, he was there for, I want to say 4 or 5 years. So hats off to Markstrom. Sad that he left, but I don't know. What would you grade this trade?
I'd bump up Calgary's grade a little bit higher, B to B plus. I think it is, like you said, I mean, Markstrom, you probably could have got it in a better haul, but at the same time, you know, he's 34. And realistically, for your guys' future as the Calgary Flames, you know, I think it's in this retooling, rebuilding stages. I don't think it's a full rebuild, but it's a little bit of a retool thing. So, you know, I'd give it an A definitely for the Devils. I think it works for them perfectly. But I think, the Flames maybe could have gotten a little bit better, but sometimes you gotta take what you can get at this point in the rebuild. Yeah. So, but before we move on, I want to answer this question from Steve. He brings up a great point. If Bob gets a shutout in Game 6, does he get the Conn Smythe? I think it's a good question. I think it's fair to say that he could with a shutout because of the situation, but it's also tough with games 4 and 5 how he performed. What do you think?
I still think that it's going to go to McDavid. I would be shocked if they shut out the Oilers at home too.
Yeah. If he does,
I think it's going to go to McDavid regardless. I don't know. That's a tough question. Tough.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it's going to go to McDavid just because.
Yeah.
I think he's had one of the best playoff performances we've ever seen in the league history, but in today's era, by far the best. And it doesn't matter if he win or lose the Stanley Cup. I mean, this is going to go down in history as one of the best. And who knows? Maybe there's going to be another year he's in the playoffs where he goes pretty hard again too. But yeah, I don't really see Bobrovsky taking it though, regardless, just because how dominant McDavid's been. I mean, it's been his playoffs for the Oilers. I mean, he's been the sole reason. I don't really see this team making it past the Canucks without McDavid. Yeah. So
I agree. It's a great question. Who was the last? Was it John Sebastian Giguère to win the last Conn Smythe, even though he didn't win the cup?
Yeah, that was back in like 2003, I want to say. So
yeah, that was a good cup run. That was when the Devils won, right?
Yes, I think he was on the Ducks.
Yep. Yeah.
I want to say
makes sense. I think it's tough to leave off McDavid, but yeah. Thanks for the question, Steve. That's a great question. But next news for the Sharks, we've got a returner. We've got Barclay Goodrow coming back to San Jose. He won 2 cups with the Lightning, and then I think he had a pretty good playoff for the Rangers, especially in the 3rd round. He had some great clutch overtime goals, a lot like he did with the Sharks against the Golden Knights that one year, that great year, the last year we made the playoffs. So it's good to have him back. He's 31. His average salary per year is $3.6 million. So I think for the Sharks, it's a little bit of I think they're under the cap floor right now. I know the cap just raised for this upcoming year, but they need to add some money to bump that up a bit. So I don't think it's a bad add at all. He's a great player. For him though, he's in the middle of he's going to be helping out a rebuilding team. So we'll see if if he's happy here. I mean, he's got 3 years left. He also has a no move clause, so we can't really if we wanted to trade him at the deadline to get some stuff out of it, he'd have to agree to it. So it's kind of tough on that part, but nonetheless, like, it's a good solid player to have on your team in a rebuilding years. And he's won his cups too. He's won 2 Stanley Cups. And if you're going to go back to the team that, we signed him, the Sharks signed him in 2014 through free agency. Like, he wasn't even drafted. I think he was an undrafted free agent. So great player. He's had a great career so far. So, to help us out a little bit, we'll see how that turns out. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I feel like at least on the Goodrow trade, or the pickup, from the waivers, I feel like the Rangers probably could have got something for him. Could have figured out something because, like you said, he has 3 years left on his deal. But I think this is a steal for the Sharks, having someone that's familiar with the organization, lots of young players around him. I think it's going to be a good player for them to have on their depth chart next year. But I think, that's a big pickup. But I think the even bigger pickup they had today was Ty Dellandrea. He was traded to the Sharks for a 4th round pick. 4th round. This guy scored 28 points last year, and he's 23 years old. This guy has a lot of growing still. So I feel like this is a humongous pickup for Sharks. He's probably going to be playing alongside, who knows? He could be a 2nd or a 3rd line person or guy next year. And last year on the Stars, he was, scraping bottom 6 minutes. So
yeah.
True. I think this is a big pickup for Dellandrea, or big move for Dellandrea, but even a bigger pickup for San Jose. So, for this trade, I'm gonna give it like a freaking A for the Sharks, and like, honestly, like a C for the Stars. I think this was a bad thing for the Stars. But I don't know. What's your thoughts on anything else about Goodrow or Dellandrea?
I don't know what the Star, like, there's got to be something there. I think for Goodrow and the Rangers, I think they're trying to make cap space, and he's got a no move clause. So if they were trying to get anything out of him, he said no. And they were like, well, we got to put him on waivers then. We have no other choice. Because they're I don't know. I haven't looked at cap friendly before it goes dark, but I'm sure there's some moves that they need to make in order to have enough just cap space to sign someone. I don't know who that would be. But I thought it was a it's just one of those things for the Rangers where it's like, well, we couldn't do anything about it. For Dellandrea and the Stars, I don't know what the Stars are thinking there. I don't know if it's a cap thing or off ice issues. Who knows? I don't got the scoop on that. Sorry, guys. But I mean, for the Sharks, I'm super excited.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Ty Dellandrea is a young kid who, we're in this phase where obviously we're still rebuilding, and we've got people like Will Smith coming on, Macklin Celebrini hopefully coming on. So it's not like we can really use that future 4th round pick. Like, why not flip that? Why not flip that for a player that can make an impact in the next couple of years or even next year? To make he could be a second line winger or something and help us out. So I think regardless, I think it's a great trade for the Sharks on that one. I would give them an A for Dellandrea. For the Stars, I don't know. There's got to be something else there that we haven't read, or they're trying to make space for a bigger move. So right now I'm going to give him a C as well.
Yeah, and he was a restricted free agent. So, I mean, now looking back on it, I mean, that 4th round pick is something, I guess. Yeah. But I do feel like, I mean, they have a really deep prospect pool, the Stars do right now.
Yeah, they do.
I know Stankoven is a right winger too. But, I mean, now I'm looking at it. I'm just looking at their depth chart right now, and like Dodonov is a right winger that they could have maybe moved. Sagan is a right winger too, and he's getting older. So I don't know. I feel like it's a tough move by the Stars, but I think they could have got a lot more for Dellandrea. And not only that, I mean, what a pickup by San Jose. So
yeah. Well, let's move on, because this trade is also a just brain twister on this. Pierre-Luc Dubois from LA goes to the Washington Capitals for Darcy Kemper. Pierre-Luc Dubois last year was traded from the Jets. Jets got Alex Iafallo, Kapari, and Velarde, and a 2nd round pick. And Pierre-Luc Dubois, nicknamed on LA Kings Twitter as Pierre-Luc Do Nothing. So, I think he would kind of had a disappointing season for them. Sorry. Just like lost my voice there. But for the Kings to get a goalie in return, I mean, I think it's just one of those trades that you hoped would have worked out, but you get Darcy Kemper in return. I don't think it's a horrible ad, and I think the Kings are definitely lacking in the goalie department. With what they have, getting rid of Jonathan Quick, and his whole thing with the Rangers doing well. But I don't think it's a horrible trade either way. The Capitals are taking a bit of a risk with a dude who's making, I don't know exactly what he's making a year. I think it's close to 7, or I know the number 7 is in there, whether it's his years left or his salary.
8.5.
$8 million for 5 years. And
yeah,
I don't know if Capitals, you just bought cap friendly for yourself and you make that kind of trade. What this, like, unless they're just trying to hide the fact, like they're, oh my God. Yeah, that's crazy. But the Capitals trading for him, and now they have cap friendly to themselves, and they make that trade for the first move of the offseason. So kind of crazy on the Capitals part, but who knows if it'll turn out. Maybe they're just trying to get someone to feed Ovi the puck to get him some goals next year. I don't know. I don't really know what their move was there. What do you think?
I think that the Capitals won this trade for sure. I mean, Pierre-Luc Dubois has definitely struggled, but he still has some potential to be a good player. I mean, he's scored 60 points, I want to say 3 times throughout his career. Let me just see that.
Somehow the Kings got worse.
3 times.
Yeah.
3 times. So I mean, I do feel like this is good for the Kings. I got Darcy Kemper. I mean, Kemper's a proven NHL goalie, so they do have that, which they were lacking in big time this year. But I mean, damn, man. I mean, it's crazy. Pierre-Luc Dubois, or PLD, as a lot of people calling him, has bounced around 3 different teams in the past 3 years. So I think that he's going to be good on the Capitals. I think he's going to play in the top 6, and we'll see if he does something. But I don't think the Caps are giving away too much when they're giving away Kemper. I feel like he's kind of declining, but I mean, for the Caps, I'm probably going to give it an A. I don't know even about an A minus probably.
Yeah.
And then for the Kings, I'd probably give it like a C plus, B minus area.
Yeah, I think, I don't know. For the Capitals, I mean, it's all dependent for Pierre-Luc Dubois on like how maybe he just didn't fit with the Kings well. So it's really hard to say. We'll see how he does next year, but I'm going to give the Capitals a B on this just because we don't know how he's going to turn out. And the Kings, like, I want to be harsh on them, but I mean, I feel like for Rob Blake, the GM, I feel like it's just kind of something he had to do. You can't hold on to him for 8 years and expect to get better. So it's one of those things where you kind of just got to make the move, make the trade, suck it up. It's a loss. You know, you took the L, honestly, at that trade that you gave him away for. And then you took an L again for getting what you got for him in return. But I'd give, what did I give the Kings? I don't remember. I'm going to give them a C plus and the Capitals a B. So we'll see. But do you have anything else to add before we move on to our mock draft?
He could be doing some stuff with Ovi for sure.
He could.
And I know they're kind of lacking that center depth after they got rid of Kuznetsov. So I don't know. I think it's a good addition for the Capitals. It's kind of a risk, but especially because I've heard that this guy's not the best locker room player, which I don't know him personally, but I've just seen all sorts of rumors and whatnot about that. So it's a risk for the Capitals. But for the Kings, we'll see. It's also kind of a risk, but I feel like they're going to have a better goaltender next year. So that's a plus, but they did kind of give away a player that they just gave fucking 3 players around draft pick for. So I don't know. That's kind of an L for the Kings, in my opinion, because they literally just did that. So
last year, I know, but didn't work out for them. So it's all right, but we're going to move on to the mock draft. Last episode, if you didn't catch that, go listen to it because we did picks 1 through 10. If you're interested, now we're going to do picks 11 through 20. Now, disclaimer here, picks 1 through 10 obviously are a little bit more hyped up and we have more information on these players. So for us, this is in good fun and for what we know and what we can see on our side of things. But a lot of these players are up in the air, and I think there's going to be a lot of movement here. It's not as clear cut as the top 10. So if we're completely wrong on this, who cares? And even first 1 through 10, the draft is incredibly hard to predict. You don't know what these guys are thinking, what these guys are doing. But with that, Gally, kick off your pick number 11.
Yeah, and I mean, with that being said, too, we're not the biggest analysts. We haven't been studying these players all season. I know there's some people out there that have been doing that, and props to them. I wish I had that time, but I don't watch amateur hockey too much, or even overseas hockey. But I think with these 11 through 20, there's a decent amount of information on these players just because a lot of these players could go in the first round. I feel like this draft in specific this year is so up in the air. I feel like there's not a solid top 10. I think there's a solid like top 5 probably. But outside of that, I think a lot of these players that could even be picked number 15 on our mock draft could go in the top 10. So that being said, number 11 pick goes to the Sabres, and I think that they're going to select Carter Yakimchuk. He plays for the Calgary Hitmen. He's a right-handed defenseman. Got 30 goals and 41 assists, and that's pretty impressive. I just feel like Buffalo would jump the gun if he's available, just because he's a good. I'd say he's a two-way defender. He's tall, but not only that. I think that they're kind of lacking the right-handed defenseman outside of Owen Power. So I feel like this would be a pretty good ad for them. I feel like Yakimchuk. I feel like I'm butchering that name. Is probably a few years away from being in the NHL. But who you got for number 11?
Number 11 for the Sabres, I've got Trevor Connolly. I know he's had a little bit of tiffs here and there with his off-ice stuff. And, maybe the Sabres don't need that. have not made the playoffs in God knows how long. But
thank you, Steve.
Yeah, I saw that. I think for Buffalo, though, on the same point, I think they need to take some risks with some of these players. I mean, I think they have a good, solid foundation. I think that the Sabres, I think they have some depth in terms of defensemen. They've got Owen Power, they've got Rasmus Dahlin. And I don't think adding another one would be bad. But for their forwards future, I mean, they've got Tage Thompson, who's an absolute dog. They got Zach Benson, who's another dog. But Trevor Connolly, I feel like his left wing presence it'd help them out a lot. And again, this is based off what I'm seeing, what I'm reading. Does the Buffalo make the playoffs next year, Steve? I'd like them to, but that Atlantic division is so tough, and I just don't know if they're ready yet. I really don't.
It's Buffalo. It's just that Buffalo. Buffalo sports. I mean, I know the Bills are doing pretty good as of recent, but yeah, I mean, I feel like cursed. The Sabres had a glimpse at this team might actually be good. But I could see them swinging around. I could see them being in like a wild card spot next year. Yeah,
they'd have to. I mean, who's is it Dylan Cousins? Who's their goalie?
Dylan Cousins is their center. I think
center,
Devin
that's right.
Levi is
Devin Levi. I always confuse them because they kind of look similar in a sense. Yes, him. Their goalie. I don't know if he was a technical rookie, but I think it was his first full season playing. And he had some good flashes, and I think, moving forward, I think he's going to have to grow into that spot. So I just don't know if they're going to make the playoffs next year. It's going to be tough for them, and especially with the Atlantic. You've got Toronto, you got Boston, you got Florida. Those three teams are probably going to make the playoffs again. And who's going to fill that wild card spot? I don't know. You got Montreal, who's going to be. I think they're going to be.
Hey, the Caps did make it this year, though, so I could see it being a thing. I could see Buffalo having a good year next year.
That is true.
In the playoffs, which they haven't since I want to say 2007, right?
I think so. I think it's been almost. I think it's more than that. Let me look. You go on with number 12, and I'll look up last time they made.
Yeah. So my number 12 pick, which this is a player too that I feel like is up in the air for being in the top 10. Konsta Helenas.
2010, 2011.
It's a hard last name to say. Konsta Helenas. He's a center out of Finland. He's got 36 points in 51 games in the Liga, which is the top division in Finland. And to be doing that, he's playing against, ex-NHLers, players that are professionals, that are past 18 years old. So I feel like he's definitely proven that he's going to be a good player in the NHL. I think anybody who gets this player, Konsta, I'm just going to say because I'm butchering his last name, I feel like he's going to be bringing a lot of high offensive skills, but he's also very good defensively. I mean, just reading of him and watching some of his highlights, I think it would be a steal if they got him there. But not only that, I feel like Philadelphia is lacking center depth big time. So I feel like they're going to pick a center. I think it's between him and Berkeley Catton. I think it's kind of interchangeable between them, but I'm going to go with Konsta. I feel like he'd fit a little bit better under Tortorella. Yeah.
Okay. I like that. Well, with the Sabres taking Trevor Connolly at 11, that falls that Carter Yemachuk, however the fuck you say his name, is going to fall to the Flyers. I think the Flyers, their prospect pool is not the greatest. They have added. Okay, let me roll back a bit. It's not as wide as some of these other teams that are on this list. Obviously, they have Matvei Michikov. They have Jamie Drysdale. But I do think they still need to get a couple more pieces. And I think Carter, I'm just going to call him by his first name. Carter is a good fit for that team. 30 goals, 41 assists. Catton is still on the board. Catton, yes, he is still on the board. I believe so. Right?
Yeah. He's still on the board right now for both of us. Which I said, I don't think that he goes in the top 10 just because his size and the WHL is a pretty high scoring league. That's the only reason I see him not in the top 10, which I think is kind of wild. I could also see the Devils potentially picking them, but I just feel like the teams in the top 10, especially going into those later drafts, like 5 through 10, I feel like those players lack defensemen, big time. I also could see him maybe going to Seattle too instead of Yzerman. But I mean, that's what I have to say about Catton. I feel like that's the lowest he's going to go though, is probably with Seattle at 8. Just to answer that question. But sorry, continue about the Flyers.
Yeah, no, that's all I was going to say. It was perfect timing, Steve, for that comment. But yeah, I think it'd be a good pick for them at that point. I think Berkeley Catton's also a good choice for them. I just have him later on my list, and I really don't want to change this list up because I'm going to forget who I put where. So I'm keeping that pick there. Who is your number 13 for the Minnesota Wild?
So I think Trevor Connolly is going to be number 13. I think he's going to fall big time. But he is committed to Providence University next year. I know he's had some off-ice issues. He could potentially even fall even harder. But the Wild definitely need some left wings outside of Kaprizov. They're lacking in that department. So that was my pick for number 13. Who did you have?
I have a number 13. This is where it could be interchanged. Berkeley Catton could go 13 or Consta Helinas. And I'm going to stick with Consta Helinas for the Wild. You know, like you had said, he's a good two-way center. And the Wild are in another spot where it's like, I don't know what they can do because there's so much. They have like good pieces on their team. It's just like, it just didn't work out for them last year. And, you know, they get a good draft pick out of it. And we see this with teams that have a solid team around them, have an off year, and they pick up some young stud. And in 5 years, when they're making the playoffs, he's a big difference, big help for them. So kind of like Timo Meier for the Sharks at the time. He had dropped. The Sharks had a bad season. And then the year after that, they go to the Stanley Cup final. I don't think he was a part of that, but later years like that, Timo Meier was a big help. So I think it's kind of a similar situation for the Wild.
Yeah, definitely.
But with that Sharks talk, number 14, who you got for the Sharks? Their second first round pick.
Adam Jiricek. I think that's how you say his name. I think the J is silent.
Yep.
But we're going to go with that. He's a right-handed defenseman. I think the Sharks just need a little bit more depth on D.
Yep.
I think their forward depth is going to be very nice. I think that they're going to pick a forward in that top 10 as well. Obviously, Macklin Celebrini. But that could be, I think Jiricek would be a good steal.
Yeah.
Don't have too much more insight on him. I know he's from Czechia and he had an injury this past season. So I feel like that's made his draft stock drop a lot. I feel like last year he was pretty high up there. I think even in the top 10. But that injury is going to hold him back. But I think if he's available, I think they pick him. I could also see them picking Yakimchuk if he's available. I feel like you're talking about him a lot. But that's who I got. Who you got for at 14?
I have the same thing. I think the Sharks are going to pick a defenseman here. I think they need to. Like you said, they have great forward depth. They got Eklund, Smith, and now Celebrini as their big stars. And I think they need now a defenseman who can kind of help them out. So yeah, I think he'd be a good defenseman, and it may not be him, but I think regardless, it's going to be a defenseman, no matter who or what it is. But
yeah,
who you got for number 15, the Detroit Red Wings?
So number 15, I feel like this is a bold choice to say this guy's going to fall this hard, but Berkeley Catton, I think that he's going to fall 215. I just think his size is holding him back. He's the third WHL player to get 115 points, though, after Bedard and Nick Petan. So that's something very, prominent. That's a very good stat. He's got 54 goals this past season, so he can score. So I could definitely see this guy going top 10. I just feel like a lot of GMs are going to pass on him because of size. But who do you got at number 15 for the Wings?
I have Berkeley Catton as well. I think he doesn't drop less than 15.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, like we said in the beginning, like a lot of these picks, they're so tough to like really, really pick.
They are.
Yeah, and with him being the third WHL player with 150 points after Bedard and Nick Petan, but I think that's a steal no matter where you pick him at. I don't know where he was ranked before the beginning of this season. but I could see a lot of movement through all these picks. There's so much that goes into it, so much that they know that we don't know. The draft interviews add so much to it as well. We get little reports about the draft interview and like what happened, but yeah, who you got for 16?
For 16, I got Sasha Boivert, maybe that's how you say it. He's a center. He's had 68 points in the USHL this past year. I feel like the Blues could definitely take a good all-around center. Committed to UND next year, which produces excellent players. I think he's going to grow a lot in the NCAA, and I feel like this is a player that if the Blues get 2-3 years from now and he has a good college career, he's going to be a really good player that goes kind of under the radar. So that's who I got for 16. Don't have too much insight on the Blues, but just like Sean said, these picks are kind of like somewhat out there. They could move a lot, but who do you got for 16?
Number 16, I believe that the Blues are going to take the Russian Igor Chernazov. Oh my God, I just butchered that. Chernazov.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Chernazov?
How you say it? Okay.
Dude, that's right.
I feel like I don't even know what I'm speaking. But yeah, I think he's a solid player for them. The Blues are another organization where it's like, what do you guys do? I don't know. You guys aren't picking great. 16 is not great. I don't think that they have, by definition, they're literally mid. They're 16 in the league. It's middle of the pack. But I also think that, I think they need to move something. They need to do something and maybe flip this pick for something else. I don't know. I'm curious to see if we get any trades throughout these 11 through 20, because I feel like some of these teams on here are teams that maybe just need to flip that pick for someone else. I just don't know if they have really time to wait for some of these players to develop. So maybe flip these picks to someone who needs it and get a good return out of it. But that's who I got for 16. Who you got for 17?
17, I got Liam Greentree. Thank you for not a hard name. He's a right winger.
Yeah.
Played for the Windsor Spitfires in the OHL. Scored 90 points in 63 games. Caps are lacking right wing depth. Just looking at them, I think they got TJ Oshie, he's 37 years old. Tom Wilson, and Sonny Milano. So outside of that, they're slim on the right wing. So I think they're going to go with the right winger. Liam Greentree is my pick for there. He's a playmaker, is what I've seen about him. But who do you got for 17?
I think that's a good mix of those two. They've also got Ryan Leonard too, who they picked up last year, who I think is going to be a stud. They got him at a steal. I want to say he was like 8 or 9 in the draft last year. But picking 17, I think they're going to take Sasha Boisjovois. If you say that name, I think the Caps, like you said, I think they're lacking in that depth, but they have Ryan Leonard. I think he's a solid player. If you can get to someone like Sasha Boisjovois, and I think I'm just going to keep saying that name crazy. What's funny to me is that we're going to be at this draft in Vegas watching these players get called the names, and we're going to be like, oh, that's how you say it. We totally messed that up on the pod. But he's going to UND next year, so he, like you said, he's going to have some time to develop down there. I don't know if Ryan Leonard is coming to the Capitals this year or if he's staying another year in BC. I imagine if Will Smith is leaving, he's probably going to leave as well, along with Gabe Perreault. But who knows? They could have another year, so the Caps might just really suck next year. Who knows? I think they're just going to be trying to get Ovi his goals. I think that's their only game plan.
For real, though.
And then rebuild from there and help it out. But who you got for number 18, the Chicago Blackhawks?
For number 18, I got Igor Chernyshev. We'll go with he's a left winger. Pretty crafty Russian player. I know you talked about him a little bit. He's got 28 points in 22 games, 4 points in the KHL as well. First league I was talking about was the MHL, which is the juniors for Russia. But I can just see this happening. Hawks go back-to-back Russians, get Chernyshev and Demidov. Yeah. Why not? Why not? Get the Russian machine doesn't break. But who do you got for number 18? This pick was originally with New York Islanders too.
Islanders, yeah. Blackhawks got him. I think they're going to go with Liam Greentree. easy name this time. 90 points, 63 games, like you talked about with the Windsor Spitfires. I mean, I think the name of the game for the Blackhawks is get Bedard some help. I think we'll see who they pick it to. I think I had Demidov I think I had the Blackhawks taking Demidov at 2. But especially if the Blackhawks take a defenseman, I think they're going to need to get some forward help for Bedard. And, I don't think this guy's going to make an impact. Greentree, I don't think he's going to make an impact this upcoming season, which is tough. But Blackhawks and Bedard both know that this is a long ride, just like it was for McDavid. There's going to be some growing pains. And, I mean, even I guess McDavid's way different because McDavid literally had, 4 first-round draft picks before him, or first overall draft picks before him. So it's a little different. But I think regardless, I think Bedard needs help. And that's the Blackhawks game plan for the long term that I see. He's a good playmaker. Obviously, so is Bedard, but Bedard's also got a great shot on him. So if they can get some help on the right wing, I think it'll help him out. But who you got for number 19?
This one was still tough for me. I feel like the Knights kind of lack on their right wing depth, so I went Beckett-Seneke. He's a strong skater. Not much more on him though.
Yeah, same. I picked the same one.
That's who I went with.
Yeah,
I feel
these
like
later
this
ones
one's
are going to
very
get tough.
much yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, Golden Knights, Bennett, Seneke, same thing here. What you have written down is strong skater.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the Knights, it's tough with the Knights too. Like what
plays for the
Oshawa
Generals in the OHL too. So
okay,
that's a little bit more about them.
What do the Knights need really? I mean, realistically, I don't really know that they need much out. They have a great team around them. I think it's just, I'm sure they'll trade this first round pick for some fucking player. If I'm being honest, I'm sure they'll get rid of him eventually. Just keep stacking players. But number 20 for the Islanders from the Tampa Bay Lightnings originally, I got Michael Hague. He's a center, power forward. Do you have him as well?
Same here. Yeah. Power forward, center, 75 points in 54 games. I feel like he's going to fit in good next year in the NCAA. Yeah. I feel like they can get a player that needs to develop a little bit, and I just feel like he fits with the Islanders. Yeah, his style of play. They are always getting those power forwards and gritty players. So I just feel like he's got Islanders written all over him.
That he does. A boring player. No, I'm kidding. But that wraps up our mock draft from picks 11 to 20. Again, if you missed 1 through 10, that's a good one. We've got a video coming up. It's going to be out on social media.
Oh, yeah.
But go listen to that. It's a little bit more in depth on the podcast from last week, episode 37, if you want to hear it all. But we're going to the draft yet again. We've been plugging this for months now, and it's so close, 9 days away. So be sure to keep in touch with us, keep following us. We'll be getting some content out, some street content, all that fun stuff. So you're not going to want to miss it. Be sure to follow us on Instagram right down there below me. Right here. Oh, right here. Oh, God. Right there. Follow that at Good Old Hockey Podcast. We're almost at 500, by the way. And, maybe this is a sign from the man upstairs giving us the challenge of pushing this series on and on. But we're at 495 right now. We got more time. We need 5 followers by Friday if it ends, and we've hit our goal of 500 at the end of playoffs. So if you know anyone that would like our stuff, send it to them. Be like, hey, follow these guys. They're freaking out. They're awesome. They're epic. Or tell them that we suck and you just want to hate on us all the time. I don't care. Whatever you want to do, go follow us. And plugging it one more time, the Patreon. Go sign up if you want a free jersey and join that Patreon. You'll get access to our Discord where you can talk hockey with us live in real time. You don't have to wait for us to go live on Thursdays or whenever we do these episodes. You can talk to us straight up right there. $1.99 a month helps us out on production side and just giving us some more juice to keep going, getting some cool videos at you guys, some cool back stuff, maybe, if we get enough of you guys that can pledge, you could send us to the All-Star game. We can get some content for you guys. So that's my plug. I had to plug those for a bit. Gally, do you got anything to add before we kick it on out of here and get ready for Game 6?
Not really. Got a hockey game tonight, so gonna have fun with that.
You do. Yeah.
I'm not gonna forget my gloves like I did last time.
Last time, yeah.
Fucking brutal. I had to borrow some like blocky roller hockey gloves, but not gonna do that this time. But yeah, thanks for everyone for watching. Thank you for following too, and 5 away for 500. Hopefully we can get to 1,000 next.
Dude, but I think we could get to 1,000. Like, we could call our shot right now. I think we can get to 1,000 by the start of next season. I think that's very possible.
Same here. I think we're gonna have to go hard in the summer, but yeah, 100%. I think it's doable. And yeah, shout out everyone for watching. Appreciate you guys. I love you guys, even though you hate me and hate my Calgary Flames player picks and all that. But thank you guys.
Thank you guys for listening. We'll be back next week. Right before the draft, we'll do a little, what's it called? We'll do a little, I guess, finishing up the mock draft for the rest. Those might be pretty brutal for us. We don't, those deeper picks are going to be tough, but we're going to try for you guys. Then after that, we'll get in some off-season content, trying to get some interviews with people, hockey players from all walks of life. And what else was I going to say? Oh, and then we'll definitely do a podcast after the draft, recap it for you guys. So if you don't see anything, maybe tell some behind the scenes stories that you guys didn't see on social media because our parents follow us. We'll tell some funny stories on the episode after the draft. So be sure to tune in. And with that, I mean, the only word I can really say is go Panthers. Cast in 6. You got till Friday. Close it out. Let's get this shit
done.
Go
Panthers. Yep. Go Panthers. Go Flames, kind of, but go Panthers for right now.
All right. Thank you guys. We will see you guys next week. Peace.